Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, my name is Nthikeng and I am your book bae. Your book bae is once again in the building. Today I am reviewing and discussing Nthikeng Mohlele's Small Things. I am really keen, so let's get into the video. Okay, right from the beginning, I want to say this book was powerful. I finished it yesterday morning, and it's 152 pages, if I remember, 151 pages. So it's a quick read. I really enjoyed this book. Like I loved it. Actually, I was actually speaking to a friend of mine about it yesterday, and I was just telling him like, wow, this book is something special. So before we go into anything, I just want to put it out there that this is definitely going to be a spoiler video. So I am going to discuss about things that happen in the book. So if you're not wanting to do that, you don't want to spoil it for yourself, next video somewhere I'll link a card for you to watch something else. So just a little bit about Nthikeng. He is a novelist, a South African novelist, and he was brought up in, it says here, Limpopo and Tembisa Township. So Tembisa Township is in Johannesburg, and I think, is it in Johannesburg? Well, Tembisa Township is in Gauteng, and then Limpopo is a province on its own in South Africa. So just in the two different places. This is a picture of him there, and the book was published by Jokana Media. And yeah, he's a novelist, South African novelist. He's written quite a few books. I think when I checked, it said online he's written 6 books. So he's quite an established novelist. And something that stuck out to me just before I started reading the book actually was this little piece of I guess observational writing, a blurb from J.M. Coetzee, and he wrote, "Behind the story of love, music, and the eternal quest lies an artistic sensibility as generous as it is complex. The prose is rich in texture, the final effect melancholy and comic in equal proportions." So yeah, I think that was a great summation of just the book and what you can expect from it. Funny story though about J.M. Coetzee. If anyone has read Disgrace by J.M. Coetzee, I hate that book. Like, that is honestly I hate it so much. That's honestly one of the worst books I've ever read, just because that book is just, it's just so gruesome. It's just so uncomfortable to read. So if you're looking to feel some type of way, read J.M. Coetzee. He's Disgrace. He is a South African author as well. So anyways, back to Small Things. What I loved about the book, I think something that stuck out was the writing. Like, the writing is so rich. This genre, literary fiction, right? It really took my breath away. Like, I haven't felt like this about a book. Like, I just felt so blessed that I was able to read this book, because I learned, like, it just helped me to think about a lot of things differently. Now, one of the major themes in the book is this idea of being homeless or displaced. And yesterday was actually World Homeless Day. On the 10th of October is World Homeless Day. So I felt like I have to do this video today, and if possible, I'm gonna upload it today on Sunday. Today's the 11th of October. So yeah, I love this book. Just the characters, it's written in the first person. And so we get to hear the main protagonist's thoughts and all of that. And he also kind of gives us insight into some of the thoughts of the other characters in the book that he interacts with. But for the most part, it's just him. What basically happens is he is a young journalist, and he's in love with this girl that her name is Desiree, and he just has these strong feelings for Desiree. It's kind of like puppy love, but then it just expands into something so much more than that. Like, you think at the beginning, like, oh, this is just some boy who's just into a girl, like, what's new, you know? But then his love for her just develops. Like, it's something so strong, even to the point where after he is released from prison, after 18 years, he spends 18 years in prison. He still seeks Desiree. He still wants Desiree, this, person that he hasn't seen for 18 years. But at that point, she's married and they begin an affair. But that's a completely different thing. So just going back to the actual story, we don't actually know the main protagonist's name, which something I only realized at the end of the book, that like people refer to him as different things. Like one of the women that he had a relationship with refers to him as my poet. So then at the end, like literally the last sentence, I want to actually read it for you. He says, "One last thing, I forgot to tell you my name. On second thoughts, never mind." Like, I was just blown away by that, because I realized that I read this whole story like this man is so intimate in terms of a lot of things that he thinks about and what happens to him, but then I don't even know his name. That was just crazy to me. From the beginning, yeah, he's a young boy and he grows up as an orphan, and he grows up in the church, and then he gets to a point, I think he gets to 16, where he actively just does things to offend the church so he can kind of be released from this prison. I'll say prison because they really didn't treat him well, and the pastor that takes care of him at the beginning, I got racist undertones. At that point, it is set before freedom in South Africa, so before 1994 democracy in South Africa. So he grows up during that, and then even a lot of the time that he spends in prison, it's 18 years before 1994. So I'd imagine that he was released in 1994 because of the new dispensation in South Africa. After that, he goes and he starts working for Desiree, his love interest's uncle, and Desiree's uncle employs him. He's just the guy, he does everything for him. He collects debts for him. He's kind of like his hand or his muscle, I guess. But then soon after that, he also is mentored by Desiree's uncle in terms of this actual profession. He is a journalist, so he helps him write, and it just starts with kind of scathing letters to the editor, and then it just progresses into a career. So the thing why he actually ended up going to prison was because of the fact that he was writing very provocative things in the national press at a time when people were very silenced in South Africa, because it was this thing of the apartheid regime did not want Black people speaking out and spreading provocative thoughts, because that could incite protests and that type of thing in a time when Black people really weren't prioritized in the country. They were marginalized and also just treated very badly because of this idea of apartheid being separated, where the white people were the ultimate ruling class, and then we had after that just people, different races were grouped in accordance to what they were thought of and importance, and at the bottom of the food chain we had Black people. So that's just a little bit of history, but I would encourage, if you don't know much about apartheid and how it was structured, do read up on it before you actually read this book, because it will help you just piece together these subtle things that the author mentions. After he becomes a journalist, he is provocative in the things that he writes. The police take note of him. They show up at his house. They kind of shake him down. He's told that, listen, you need to stop what you're doing, because if you continue writing the way that you write and doing what you do, then you are going to prison. He continues to write provocative articles, and then the next day, after the most recent article is published, they take him away. They arrest him, where he's tortured. He is a prisoner, right? And he has to do all the things that happen in prison, manual labor, and then he's released after that, and he goes back and he gets a job as a tourism liaison, I will say. So when tourists come to South Africa and they're looking for something to do, because he has so much knowledge about it from his career as a journalist, as well as just general knowledge, living through a lot of the things that happened that are marked in history, he's able to direct people depending on what they like. The big boss, in terms of where the place he works, wants to promote him, and he keeps refusing. He says, no, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, because he says he doesn't want to be important. And that's a big theme in the book, like this thing of him not wanting to be important. He remains anonymous. And that also links to this idea of how we don't know his name. Like, I read this whole book and I didn't know this person's name. So that is just, it links to that. But I think that a bigger reason why he might have done that is because sometimes when you give a name to something or a person, you restrict it in a way. So because I think that this book is meant to be something that is universal, something that a lot of people can relate to, that when you give a name to something, then a lot of people can maybe remove themselves from that. But because he didn't give himself a name, then a lot more people can identify, a lot more people, like, it's just more relevant to different contexts and stuff. It universalizes the story, right? Didn't want to be the main attraction when it comes to the work that he's done or the fight that he's fighting in terms of the struggle. He wanted the highlight to be what he's fighting for, even afterwards once he leaves prison. And then he's struggling. At some stage he's homeless, but he discusses how he doesn't want to be one of those comrades who calls on Comrade Q, he refers to, and to help him, because he's like, hey, I just need to say 3 words or a few of the magic words and then I'm guaranteed like a cushiony life in sense in this. So for him, freedom, just fighting towards that ideal and giving meaning to the struggle was more important to him than reaping the rewards of being somebody who necessarily was a part of the emancipation of South Africa, which I felt like was interesting. He speaks throughout the book, it seems that he's looking for meaning in just the things that have happened to him and just searching for it. So a lot of the times I felt like he would self-sabotage himself, just because I think that maybe he felt like he was becoming too comfortable, things were becoming too easy for him, and because he's so used to things being difficult that he actively wanted to make his life difficult. Like, a lot of times I just felt like, you know, for example, the biggest thing is that the fact that after leaving prison, he really could have just called in a favor and been okay. But he struggles, he becomes homeless more than once. He actually dies in a cave. And I just felt like there was no need. When at that stage, he fully had a place to stay with somebody who was helping him, like, financially. He wasn't paying. All he had to do was work at his job as a waiter. And I just felt like that stuff I struggled to understand, because I'm like, you have these opportunities, so why aren't you taking them? But then he says that he's just looking for meaning. So that means that when he gets to a place and maybe it becomes too comfortable or too easy, he feels like, okay, what is the point in this? And because if he doesn't feel like there's actually something that he's gaining, that's some kind of meaning that's being created in his life by being in this particular space or whatever, then he moves on and he makes things difficult for himself again, and then he becomes homeless, and then he picks up a dog, and then he, you know, and then yeah, so that's that. Another thing, this idea of him being in love with Desiree. So Desiree, after he is released from prison, they start an affair, him and Desiree, and Desiree at the time is married to a man called Amazu. And he's a professor at the University of Mathematics. And so Desiree is a high-flying legal practitioner, and you know, she's just a girl, but she's really terrible. Like, I think I really don't like Desiree in the book. She's just unbearable. Like, she's just so, I would say, like, she's just difficult. She's just, I don't like her at all. She really takes people's love for granted, and she's very manipulative. She's very, you know, and he says all these things about her, but then he also recognizes that although he knows that she's all these things, he can't stop his feelings towards her. But the way he writes about her, and then he meets another woman called Mercedes. So what happens is Desiree leaves her husband for him, and they become an item. And then after that, he now has, like, he's neglected by Desiree. She's also got mental health issues, so that, I think, contributes to why she acts this way. She's diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and that informs, like, some of her behavior and some of her treatment of the main protagonist. Yeah, it was really sad, because yeah, it just touched me in a way. So after that he meets Mercedes, and Mercedes is the daughter of a man that he meets on a bus that he actually fosters a relationship with, a friendship, and he's just, oh, they're so in love. Like, their love is just, I remember reading when he would describe their time together. She's a music teacher, and she also falls for him, and now they have an affair. So now he's having an affair with Mercedes while being married to Desiree, and it was just a mess. So yeah, the book is set in Johannesburg. Oh, another thing that I really liked about the book was the references that he uses. So he uses a lot of references from different pieces of writing. We've got some Shakespeare where he talks about Othello's Desdemona. We've got some, he speaks about Animal Farm at some stage. Yeah, there's just a lot of references that he makes to literature, other pieces of literature, and I was like, wow, okay, so we are discussing other things. That actually was really cool. Being somebody who appreciates this type of thing, it's always cool when other authors kind of shout other authors out. It's kind of like when you're growing up and then you're watching a music video and then your favorite rapper has like the other like famous people of the moment in the music video. You always get excited because it's just like, oh, hey. I really just want to find a page I can read that you can just have a feeling of just this writing, the imagery. I mean, if love exists in yonder planets, where it would take zillions of lifetimes to reach, where musical notes are blasting explosions and barbarous cosmic winds rearranging the universe. Yes, my poet, but come back to Earth. The sun does not know there is a Desiree wrenching your soul whenever she pleases. We laugh. And furthermore, she continues, I don't think that scientists know what they're talking about. They have an idea, I say. Really? I beg to differ. Just how many hidden planets are there that have direct bearing on what we know? Do stars have cousins, funeral processions? Do they lust after other stars? It is not enough to say that stars die. We have to know other things, their secrets, obsessions, sorrows. We keep still. Listen to the waves battering rocks in the distance. That is the Milky Way. Above that flashing airplane. Yes, my tulip, it is. God spilled his milk powder. Laughter, a beat. You are the loneliest creature in the entire world. The loneliest creature I know. Let's make a baby, she says calmly. Yes, 3. We'll give them Hispanic names. Conchita, Elvira, Carlos, Fuentes. We giggle, chuckle, burst into laughter. Laughter in tune with the swelling sea. A cricket serenading night. Our sighs as I cup her pulsating breasts attempt to swallow them whole. We talk for what seems like eternity, cuddle, keep still, make love under the stars, about whose secrets and sorrows we haven't the faintest clue. Life with Mercedes is an infinite horizon of discovery, poetry readings, trumpet rehearsals. My Mercedes not only believes in, but lives for love. She knows how to measure the heart's cravings, offer embraces that leave me giddy, like a newborn baby with a fragile rubbery neck, indifferent to the horrors of the universe. I, in her company, feel bliss without form or limits, evening of rowdy laughter and delicate whispers. It is as if her entire life is one seamless trumpet note, graceful, arousing, deep-set feelings. Gabriel Sanchez's radiant daughter, a musical charmer with a touch of erotic magic. Guys, I just love this book so much. So I'm definitely giving it a 10. Like, obviously I'm giving it a 10. And this is the first book that I've given a 10 on my channel. So shout out, because it's just something special. Like, after I read it, I just wanted to hug it and just sit there, like sit in it and just soak up what I've read. I'm so grateful that I got to read this book. It's also divided into different chapters. First chapter's name is called Life, and then the last is called Echoes. From Life to Echoes, the author changes. Like, his character development, he becomes a very sad man, you know, and I think that's just due to spending so much of his time of his life in jail. 18 years is a long time to spend in jail for something that, like, they never actually even told him why he was in there. They just wanted him there because they wanted him to tell them information about the revolution, who he knew, who was involved, like just something, give him some kind of information. He never said a word. So yeah, just think about how many other people who suffered the same fate. It's really sad. But yeah, that is me for this week. I hope you enjoyed this review, and don't forget to do the things to make the things to be done. Click that button over there. I don't know where it is on the screen. And yeah, bye for now.